Unveiling Strong Delusion, Video 20, Temporal Delusion in Reading the Torah. This video will address another aspect of the strong delusion, instilled in people by education, tradition, and trauma-based mind control. All humans today undergo trauma-based mind control from birth to death. The temporal delusion involves a logical but incorrect reading of the Torah. Traditional time in the Torah. Scholars and lay readers of the Torah generally accept that Abraham lived between 2000 and 1500 BC, with the events of the book of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy following about 400 years later. The traditional timeline says that during this 400-year period between Abraham and Moses, the pharaohs of Egypt oppressed the children of Israel. Source of traditional time in the Torah. The 400-year gap between the times of Abraham and Moses comes from a logical but inaccurate reading of events in Genesis and Exodus. In Genesis, Abram dreamt about a 400-year affliction. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them for 400 years. Genesis 15:13. Chapter 1 of Exodus begins with the naming of the children of Israel, or Jacob, who came to Egypt, totaling 70. Exodus 1:1-5. And the children of Israel were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. Exodus 1:7, King James Version. Everett Fox translates, Yet the children of Israel bore fruit, they swarmed, they became many, they grew mighty in number, exceedingly, yes, exceedingly. Bees growing mighty in number. The Fable of the Bees by Bernard Mondeville, a book worth reading and available for free online. Very short book. Right after Exodus 1:7, in which Jacob's children waxed exceedingly, Exodus 1:8-14 talks about a new king arising in Egypt who subjected the children of Israel to crushing labor. Traditional reading of the Torah links the crushing labor in Exodus 1:8-14 both with Jacob's children in Exodus 1:1-7 and with Abram's dream of a 400-year affliction in Genesis 15:13. An error in reading. The traditional reading of the Torah conflates two separate groups of people called the children of Israel. Jacob's name changed to Israel after he wrestled with a man, putting the hollow of his thigh out of joint. Genesis 32:24-28. Moses led another group of men called the children of Israel, who also had the hollows of their thighs out of joint, which the videos will address when they reach Exodus. Phoenicians against Franks. In the Milka videos, the viewer will learn that Abraham and his family descended from the kings of Phoenicia. Moses, on the other hand, descended from the Franks, or the royalty of France. The word Franks means foreigners. In Farsi, Farang means foreigner. In Hindu and Urdu and several other northern Indian languages, Firangi means foreigner. In Thailand, Farang refers to Caucasians. What name the Franks called themselves, history does not tell us. Perhaps similar to those sounds, perhaps not. The foreigners, or Ferengi, conquerors of the world. This image comes from the internet, labeled for reuse. Ignoring Quark, the science fiction character, observe the chevron, like the House of Levi, and let's look at the signer of this contract of profit margin. John S. Watson, chairman of the board and CEO, Chevron. Now, not to imply that Chevron sold away the world, the chevrons of the House of Levi. Little Albert and John Brodus Watson, trauma-based mind control and the enslavement of humanity. This photo from the archives of the History of American Psychology at the University of Akron shows John Watson and his then lover, Rosalie Rayner, who later became his wife after John Watson's wife learned of the affair and divorced him. Rosalie Rayner holds little Albert. John Broadus Watson and Rosalie Rayner tortured little Albert on film. They filmed their torture of this little child in what they called psychological experiments. And they took a normal, healthy little boy and turned him into a fearful little boy who feared even bunny rabbits. This trauma-based mind control happens to every human in the modern world every single day, from birth until death. John Broadus Watson, John S. Watson, remarkable similarity. Perhaps grandfather and grandson, or father and son, or maybe even the same person. John Broadus Watson came from the Butler family, as did Thomas Jefferson. Trauma-based mind control begins before birth. At birth, doctors cut the umbilical cord and starve the baby's brain and body of necessary nutrition. Pregnant women should not allow anyone to cut their umbilical cord for at least a day, preferably more. This not only helps the health of the baby, but also ensures that the mother gets her own baby back. The replacements, I'll be you. Revised time in the Torah. Video 18 identified Abraham ben David, Isaac the Blind, and Azrael as the Abraham, Isaac, and Israel from Genesis. They lived in the 12th to the 13th centuries. The books of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy occurred from the late 12th century to the mid-13th century, with one event in 1302, the Unum Sanctum, the papal bull of Boniface VIII, Exodus 19:5. Moses belonged to Isaac's generation and lived at the same time as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Moses came from the house of Levi. Moses had a Levite father, Amram, and a Levite mother, Jochebed. Exodus 2:1-2 and Exodus 6:20. As with Nahor and Milcah, Moses' parents committed incest. And Amram took him Jochebed, his father's sister, to wife, and she bare him Aaron and Moses. And the years of the life of Amram were 137 years. Exodus 6:20. Numbers 16 and 17 in the Cathar Crusade. This video will show that number 16 in the King James Version and numbers 16 and 17 in other versions of the Torah describe two of the most well-known events of the Crusade against the Cathar, the crown of the Sefirot. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob lived during this time of the Exodus, not 400 years later. Simeon and Levi in the Crusades. Guy I de Levi, a vassal lord of Simon de Montfort, 6th Earl of Leicester, served as one of the leaders of the Crusades against the Cathar. Guy I de Levi comes from the house of Levi. Simon de Montfort comes from the house of Simeon. Two instruments of cruelty, Genesis 49:5-7. Two cool events from the Crusades. Two well-known cool events occurred during the 40 years of the Crusade against the Cathar. In 1209, the Crusaders massacred the entire city of Béziers, France, which the videos identified as Bethel from the Torah. In 1244, the Crusaders burned 250 Cathar alive at the end of the siege of Montségur. King James Version number 16 describes both massacres. This video will show number 16 from the King James Version that describes both events. Other versions of Numbers tell the two events in number 16 and in the first 15 verses of number 17. Numbers describes the events in reverse chronological order, with the 1244 event coming before the 1209 event. Numbering of Numbers varies. Number 16 in the KJV, King James Version, has 50 verses. The Catholic and Jewish versions of Numbers 16 have 35 verses, with the final verses from the King James Version starting chapter 17. This video will use the King James Version numbering throughout and add the Catholic and Jewish corresponding numbers in chapter 17 for verses coming after verse 35 in chapter 16 of the King James Version. Siege of Montségur. In May 1243, Royal French forces laid siege to Montségur, a castle on the top of a high hill. On 15 March 1244, the Ides of March, the church burned 250 Cathar alive in a wood stockade at the base of the hill. Numbers 16:1-35 describes the burning of the 250 Cathar. the destroyed castle of Montségur. Now Korah, the son of Ishar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and Datan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Pelet, sons of Reuben, took men. And they rose up before Moses with certain of the children of Israel, 250 princes of the assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown. And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron, and said unto them, Ye take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Wherefore then lift ye up yourself above the congregation of the Lord? A one-phrase statement of the Protestant belief that each man has direct access to God without the intercession of the Catholic Church. And when Moses heard it, he fell upon his face, and he spake unto Korah and unto all his company, saying, Even tomorrow the Lord will show who are his, and who is holy, and will cause him to come near unto him. Even him whom he has chosen will he cause to come near unto him. Kill them, the Lord knows who are his. Historians tell us that the Béziers massacre, the good abbot Arnaud Almaric told his men, Caediteos, novit enim dominus qui sunt eos, or kill them, for the Lord knows who are his. Numbers 16:5, and he spoke unto Korah and unto all his company, saying, Even to the morrow the Lord will show who are his, and who is holy, and will cause him to come near unto him. Even him whom he has chosen will he cause to come near unto him. This do, take your censers, Korah, and all his company, and put fire therein, and put incense in them before the Lord tomorrow. And it shall be that the man whom the Lord doth choose, he shall be holy. Ye take too much upon you, ye sons of Levi. And Moses said unto Korah, Hear, I pray you, ye sons of Levi. Seemeth it but a small thing unto you that the God of Israel has separated you from the congregation of Israel, to bring you near to himself, to do service of the tabernacle of the Lord, and to stand before the congregation to minister unto them? And he hath brought thee near to him, and all thy brethren, the sons of Levi, with thee, and seek ye the priesthood also? For which cause both thou and all thy company are gathered together against the Lord? And what is Aaron, that ye murmur against him? And Moses sent to call Datan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, which said, We will not come up. It is a small thing that thou hast brought us up out of a land that floweth with milk and honey, to kill us in the wilderness, except thou make thyself to altogether a prince over us. Moreover, thou hast not brought us into a land that floweth with milk and honey, or given us inheritance of fields and vineyards. Wilt thou put out the eyes of these men? We will not come up. Eye gouging and William the Conqueror. William the Conqueror, who history tells us conquered England in 1066, would gouge out the eyes of his prisoners, cut off their hands and feet, and catapult them over the walls of his enemies. The deceivers chose the date 1066 for its gematria value, rather than for its historical accuracy. And Moses was very wroth, and said unto the Lord, Respect not thou their offering. I have not taken one ass from them, neither have I hurt one of them. And Moses said unto Korah, Be thou and all thy company before the Lord, thou and they and Aaron, tomorrow. And take every man his censer, and put incense in them, and bring ye before the Lord every man his censer, 250 censers, thou also, and Aaron, each of you his censer. And they took every man his censer, and put fire in them, and laid incense thereon, and stood in the door of the tabernacle of the congregation with Moses and Aaron. And Korah gathered all the congregation against them unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the glory of the Lord appeared unto all the congregation. And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, Separate yourself from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment. And they fell upon their faces and said, O God, the God of the spirits of all flesh, shall one man sin, and wilt thou be wroth with all the congregation? This bolded text reflects Abraham's pleading for Sodom in Genesis 18:16 to 33. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the congregation, saying, Get you up from about the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. And Moses rose up and went unto Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. And he spake unto the congregation, saying, Depart, I pray you, from the tents of these wicked men, and touch nothing of theirs, lest you be consumed in all their sins. So they got up from the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan and Abiram, on every side, and Dathan and Abiram came out, and stood in the doors of their tents, and their wives, and their sons, and their little children. And Moses said, Hereby ye shall know that the Lord hath sent me to do all these works, for I have not done them of my own mind. If these men die the common death of all men, or if they be visited after the visitation of all men, then the Lord has not sent me. This verse reflects the Cathar belief in reincarnation. The Cathar believed humans live only one life, but experience many deaths. But if the Lord make a new thing, and the earth open her mouth and swallow them up, with all that appertain unto them, and they go down quick into the pit, then ye shall understand that these men have provoked the Lord. And it came to pass, as he had made an end of speaking all these words, that the ground clave asunder that was under them. And the earth opened up her mouth and swallowed them up and their houses, and all the men that appertained unto Korah, and all their goods. They and all that appertained to them went down alive into the pit, and the earth closed upon them, and they perished from among the congregation. And all Israel that were round about them fled at the cry of them, for they said, Lest the earth swallow us up also. And there came out a fire from the Lord, and consumed the 250 men that offered incense. The Catholic Church burned 250 Cathar in a giant bonfire on March 15, 1244. Break in numbering of number 16. After the fire of the Lord consumed the 250 Cathar at the Montsegur in number 1635, the King James Version continues numbering the subsequent verses, part of chapter 16. The Catholic and Jewish versions of Numbers start chapter 17 after the burning of the 250 Cathar in number 1635. The verses still talk about censors, but move to the killing of 14,700 people at Béziers. Massacre at Béziers. In 1209, Catholic Crusaders massacred the entire town of Béziers. When asked whether the Crusaders should spare innocents, the papal delegate said, Kill them all, God will know his own. Number 16.5, which describes the 1244 massacre, uses almost identical language used by the papal delegate in the 1209 massacre. Kill them. The Lord knows who are his. Historians tell us the good abbot and Arnaud Almaric told his men, Caede Deus, novit enim Dominus qui sunt Deus, or kill them, for the Lord knows who are his. Numbers 16:5, and he spake unto Korah and unto all his company, saying, Even tomorrow the Lord will show who are his, and who is holy, and will cause him to come near unto him, even him who he hath chosen will he cause to come near unto him. Béziers massacre of 22 July 1209. Historians tell us in 1209 the Catholic Church massacred from 14,000 to over 20,000 innocent people at Béziers. The Book of Numbers, 1649, puts the figure at 14,700. Archbishop of Narbonne and Simeon. In a letter to the Pope in August 1209, the abbot and future bishop wrote, Our men spared no one, irrespective of rank, sex, or age, and put to the sword almost 20,000 people. After this great slaughter, the whole city was despoiled and burnt, as divine vengeance miraculously raged against it. Arnaud d'Almaric Omari became Archbishop of Narbonne in 1212 as a reward for the massacre. Siege of Béziers and Guy de Levi. Guy de Levi, a vassal lord of Simon de Montfort, served as one of the leaders of the massacre at Béziers. His relative, the abbot Arnaud d'Almaric, became one of the most notorious clerics of the Middle Ages because of the massacre at Béziers. Judges 9:53 and Simon de Montfort. And a certain woman cast a piece of millstone upon Abimelech's head, and all to break his skull. Simon de Montfort died at the siege of Toulouse in 1218, when a millstone, hurled from a catapult operated by donnas, tossas, and mujeres, ladies, girls, and women, break his skull. After the burning of the 250 Cathar, numbers 16 or 17 continue to describe the massacre at Béziers. The text makes the two events seem contemporaneous by continuing to talk of the censors of the 250 burned Cathar, then moving seamlessly from the censors to the massacre at Béziers. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, that he take up the censers out of the burning, and scatter thou the fire yonder, for they are hallowed. Video 18 showed that Eleazar, the lord of Posquier, threw Abraham in prison. Posquier, called Vauvert today, lies 109 kilometers or 67 miles east of Béziers. The censors of these sinners against their own souls, let them make them broad plates for covering of the altar, for they offered them before the Lord. Therefore they are hallowed, and they shall be a sign unto the children of Israel. And Eleazar the priest took the brazen censers wherewith they that were burnt had offered, and they were made broad plates for a covering of the altar, to be a memorial unto the children of Israel, that no stranger, which is not the seed of Aaron, come near to offer incense before the Lord, that he be not as Korah and as his company, as the Lord said to him by the hand of Moses. But on the morrow all the congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron, saying, Ye have killed the people of the Lord. And it came to pass, when the congregation was gathered against Moses and against Aaron, that they looked toward the tabernacle of the congregation, and behold, the cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord appeared. And Moses and Aaron came before the tabernacle of the congregation. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Get you up from among this congregation, that I might consume them in a minute. And they fell upon their faces. And Moses said unto Aaron, Take a censer, and put a fire therein from off the altar, and put on incense, and go quickly unto the congregation, and make an atonement for them. For there is a wrath gone out from the Lord, the plague is begun. And Aaron took as Moses commanded, and ran into the midst of the congregation. And behold, the plague was begun among the people. And he put on incense, and made an atonement for the people. Arnaud d'Almaric, Numbers 16:46-47. In Numbers 16:46-47, Moses commands Aaron to go into the congregation to save some from the plague. Abbot Arnaud d'Almaric's letter to the Pope reflects this attempt to negotiate and separate innocents. While discussions were still going on with the barons about the release of those in the city who were deemed to be Catholics, the servants and other persons of low rank and unarmed attacked the city without waiting for orders from their leaders, to our amazement, crying, To arms, to arms. Within the space of 2 or 3 hours, they crossed the ditches and the walls, and Béziers was taken. Our men spared no one, irrespective of rank, sex, or age, and put to the sword almost 20,000 people. And he stood between the dead and the living, and the plague was stayed. Now they that died in the plague were 14,700, besides them that died about the matter of Korah. And Aaron returned unto Moses, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the plague was stayed. 14,700 people died at Béziers, according to the book of Numbers, Numbers 16:49 or 17:14. Thank you for watching. The next video will discuss Abraham's Genesis 15 covenant. Permission to copy and translate. The author permits any human being to copy and rebroadcast this video in whole or in part The author permits any human being to translate this video into any language.